Hey everybody, welcome to Field of Dreams on NCBN TT. I'm Steve David, I'm your host. Today we talk Trinidad football and we do the match review that happened a couple of days ago. I have with me two of my favorite analysts. Let me take time to introduce them. AC, Anthony Clark, welcome to the Jefferson.
It's always a pleasure to be here to talk Trinidad football, Steve. Thank you for the invitation again.
You've been doing a lot of traveling, son.
Yes, I have. Heading back out, have some business of the islands, specifically in the Bahamas. So I'm actually heading back out right on Sunday again.
The viewers miss you, man. They've been writing in and saying, where is Clarky, where is Clarky?
Thank you.
Welcome back. And next to Clarky, Jefferson George. Welcome to say, Jeff.
Thank you, Steve. Always a pleasure to be here.
What have you been doing?
Not a place. I've been in my backyard doing my planting and stuff.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Agriculture?
Yeah.
Rowley would be happy. Would be glad about that. Yeah. Pushing agriculture now. We're pushing agriculture. All right. Let me set the stage for our conversation because, we went a little mini series and we lost both games, of course, and 2-1. So we kind of review some of the match that some of the things that you've seen, and then we can talk about that, and then we can also talk about where we're going, where is Trinidad football going, whether it's climbing, or it's deteriorating, or it's stagnant, or whatever the case may be. And let's review, and then we can get more into giving them some ideas on how to progress, because I don't feel we're progressing as rapidly as we should. And so since Clarky has been traveling and he hasn't been on for a little while, Jeff, we'll let him start on what did he see on our first game, or we can just review both games.
Both games, because they were very similar.
Okay.
One of the things I found was that, especially when you're building a team, you go out into a new environment, you should be a little more compact. So I found that the team wasn't compact enough in defense, and they weren't moving with synergy, as the ball moved. I also would have liked to see more overlapping attacks with the wing backs, bringing the wing backs into the attack rather than we pushing a ball forward just for the forwards to try to get it. We are not attacking as a team, and we're not defending as a team. And we are playing football. I see the coach has gotten much more energy and focus into the group, on a positive note, but we are not playing as a unit as yet.
Yeah.
What were you, Jeff?
Yeah. Generally, the teams that we played were, as like you mentioned, the style. I think we clearly went to get results in the game. We were able to mount some successful attacks, meaning that ended with the goalkeeper of the opposing team had to saves. We had good chances created and so on. So in terms of some of the other games where we'd have looked a little bit more defensive, coming out of Nations League, which is probably about 3 months now, which is a considerable amount of time. This game, they went out to play, because the level of the teams, I think the level was pretty similar. And the games itself were pretty even, obviously we seeing still we still seeing our deficiencies. For me, particularly in midfield, where we tend to lack that cohesion, quality,
and cohesion.
Yeah, I think quality is important too, because that helps you both in offense and defense to kind of control the game. And while we were able to attack pretty with some relative freedom, turnovers and so on ended up turning into opportunities for the opposing teams. You know, so I thought that was something that definitely we can look at. And I mean, for the viewers, I've been listening to some of the comments and so on as to what people thought about the game. And if we had to take these games in context, that is really what it is. I mean, I know the Trinidad public is unforgiving, and they think that anytime we step on the field, we should win. And while that
no matter
the opponent, right? And while that may be, you know, for some persons, a sort of fair assessment of it, it doesn't really take into consideration where we are now in our football program. You know, look at the players, and not only the players, but where they're playing. Although they're playing abroad, it's not the highest leagues, right? Outside of Levi, right, and young Julian playing out. He's playing in the UEFA leagues these days, which is, you know, very good for him. Outside of that, the level is, you know, pretty average. It's an average level, you know, and I mean, we have to take that into consideration. One of the teams, Thailand, who we played, we would have competed against Thailand twice before and lost both games. You know, so I mean, people don't really know Thailand as a football country, so we're supposed to probably beat Thailand. But with better teams, better Trinidad and Tobago teams, 2004, we lost to them. I believe it was 3-2. And later, with a much weaker team in 2017 or 18, somewhere around there, we also lost to them 1-0. So, I mean, for me, looking at the game, I think Coach Eve would have been able to see things. Hopefully, going forward, we can have more opportunities to use these international windows and get games, so that there can finally be somewhat of a program, you know, going forward, something with some long-term objectives. Hopefully, I think that's where we're supposed to be heading.
But we don't really have players in the big leagues right now. You know, that's dwindling. We have maybe one or two, if we have any. And so that says something to the quality of players we have. And so that is an issue for me. And the other issue for me is I feel like we always adopt somebody else's formation or the plan to. And again, coaching, you guys hear me say coaching is overrated, right? And I feel it's 11 against 11. And we always, the plan we go out and play always suits the opponent. I don't ever feel we have something that dominates. And I always want to feel we can go back to a 4-2-4 if we wanted to, or 4-4-2, and
totally agree, Steve. Totally agree.
Do something.
I've always said that our system should always incorporate 3 strikers because we have skill, we have speed, we have agility. It gives them something to worry about. So I have always been an advocate that a Trinidad team should have always 3 strikers, 2 wingers, a centre forward, and right hand. Because of the way we play with flair and attacking, purpose and so on. We are not really a structured team. Yes, we still have to remain compact and so on. Yes, we have to drop back on defense and close in, Eddie wingers closing on defense and so on. But in attack, I have always advocated that we should always go with 3 strikers, and I think that will suit our culture best. Going back to the game, Steve, Jeff brought up something about where we are at this stage of the game. And at this stage of the game, winning is not important. Winning would be nice, with the performance and so on. I think this is the time when we are not in the 2022 World Cup. We are now preparing for the next World Cup, which is 2026. And we should be feeding out the old guys, bringing in the new guys, and most importantly, concentrating on the youth program, which the association is not concentrating on right now. You have to use these opportunities. When they go out to these opportunities, they get paid. The country, well, not the country, but the TTFA gets paid for these appearances. No problem. Continue using the old guys, continue trying to get your formation right and so on. Collect the funding, but that funding should be invested into the youth program for the next 4 years. So the guys that are now 15, 16, 17, 18, they are the ones that are going to represent us in 2026. It may have Levi Garcia there still and Judah.
Yeah, it should. Yeah.
Right? It should have them still. But the nucleus of the team would not be the Batos and the and the other guys who are already in their mid-20s. So I still don't feel that we have a Trinidad philosophy. I have never seen a 3-year plan for our football, or a 5-year plan, or a 4-year plan, right, for our football. And we have to move into the new times.
Yeah, definitely. I think you touched on a point that I want to build on a little bit, and I think, well, most of the teams would play some version of a 4-3-3, right? Sometimes you get them playing 4-4-2, and while I would love to see us play a 4-3-3 with a center striker with 2 wingers. Now, the problem for me with that is to play a system where you need 3 midfielders, you need 3 really solid midfielders, persons who understand the game, who are good in transition, who can both attack and defend. And at this point in time, we really lack that. So and I've seen the coach try to put out a 4-3-3, but again, you would the quality again of those midfielders, particularly in possession, being able to keep the ball and complete passes. We don't really have that, and that is a pity, because again we do have some good pace with Levi and so on, going forward. But when it breaks down, we really kind of exposed. And the competition we played again to Jefferson and Thailand, they weren't able to exploit it that much. But if we're playing higher, better quality opposition, I mean, those are the moments of the game when they would make you pay, really. And that is something that, for me, we have to address over the long term. That's not something that you can say, well, okay, we're going to fix that for the next game, right? At the end of the day, this is the national team, and there's only so much personnel that you can draw on to say, well, like, we'll try this one in this game. And I mean, in the absence of that plan, we just sort of keep, shuffling the pieces of the puzzle, trying to, see what fits.
I feel the most balanced plan in football is really 4-4-2, because it's spread. You could systematically attack, and to get into the 4-3-3 is if the left side goes, the right side hold.
Correct.
And if the right side goes, left side hold. So you can still do that same 4-3-3 thing, but you have his 2 strikers with a winger either right or left, and hold. But it's a plan that keeps your width and keeps you biting the line and keeps you spreading the field. And I heard Angus talk about a lot of stuff before on what we should do. But now he's in the driver's seat. I don't feel, I think he needs to step back and go back and look at some of the things he said that was very correct in not looking for result.
His analysis at the time,
Yes.
right,
Look at
against
that.
other coaches. Yes.
Yes. And then, because I think right now he is looking for result, and this is not the time for results. This is not result-oriented time. This is time to set up your thing to make things happen. So, that's my take on it.
Steve, I'm on point with that. And just to go back with the 4-3-3, remember, it is a dynamic situation. I remember Stuart Charles Frevrier introducing the 4-3-3 to Derby Connection, and we mashed up the league. Why? Because it was very dynamic. And if the wing back is attacking, the other side, as you say, tucking. So it's not three stagnant strikers. It is a dynamic 4-3-3 where you always have, right, that type of attack, right, heading there.
So, I mean, you know, we talk this over and over and over, and we still don't get results. But this time now, I know we have to take a break. We take a break now, and when we come back, we get more deeper into this. Viewers will be right back after the short break.
Current affairs.
That's
it. That's it.
Welcome, one and all. I am Gigi Love, alongside my sidekick, Mr. Aruka.
Your partner in crime, Juliet.
And we are going to be live on NCBN on a social media platform near you. IG, Facebook, YouTube. We are going to be
sensational,
tantalizing,
thought-provoking,
dramatic,
educational,
real,
sometimes spiritual,
suspense,
political analysis,
drama.
Take no prisoners, Juliet. Don't forget that part. Come.
Hi, join us for your movie classics on NCBN TT television network every Saturday at 10:30 a.m. with repeats on Wednesday at 10 a.m. Streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. NCBN Television, the #1 online television network, bringing you the classics.
Okay, welcome back, viewers. For the late persons tuning in, you're watching Field of Dreams on NCBN. My name is Steve David, and I'm with Anthony Clark and Jefferson George. Okay, guys. So we were talking about, and I want us to. There's not much to talk about in the game. I mean, there's very little done, but we keep looking for results, and that should not be our focus. And I think our coach needs to step back and go back in time and remember the things he said while other people was in the driver's seat looking for results. And try to refocus and set up a plan for 3 years or whatever it is to make things work, because our football is hit rock bottom and it can't go any further, so we have to start climbing out of dungeons.
You see, Steve, let me, in the game in Europe, they call the coach, inverted commas, the manager. Gone are the days where a coach is the person who's just going out on that field to get guys fit and to teach them. You have to be able to manage people, manage time, manage resources. You are now a manager. You have to be able to create your own. You can't wait on a technical director. You should be submitting your plan for your national team, a written study of what you want to do, to the technical director for consideration. Though gone are the days of just this person going out on the field, the coach themselves has to be more educated and conscious of strategy and put that on paper so that he can execute it and have a 3-year plan where he is following his own plan. Our coaches are still in the zone of going out there and trying to implement a system that the world is playing at this point in time. I would love to see this coach bring something new. Say, listen, I want to change the system to this because of the type of players I have. I think this is a better system. Put it on writing, enunciate it to the public of what he is doing, and really and truly start building something for the next 4 years.
All right, yeah, great point. And again, for the purpose of the viewers, I think they may not be aware. This coach, Angus Eve, he has done that, right? Angus Eve knows what he wants to do. Like he made an important point about the role of the coach not just being, the person on the sideline shouting instructions. And one of the key things he mentioned is, that function of management where he's managing a budget. That would give you the ideas as to what you can achieve. If I have $10, right, we're not drinking champagne, right? And
Correct.
That's the thing that I think is missing from this scenario here, right? I know that there were things that he had planned, there were things that he submitted that he wanted to do that he could not do. And what I'm saying, we missed out on the majority of the FIFA windows because there was no funding to put things in place.
Yes.
You know? And again, we're looking at, I always look at the US, and we continue to use them as the measuring stick, in CONCACAF because of what the consistency that they were able to continue to do. And they don't waste a window. They don't waste a window, right? They're playing somebody somewhere. Now again, resources play a major part into that, right? So they can do anything. They can play who they want. They can get people to play them because they can produce a financial incentive. Anybody can play them, right? But that aside, what we need to start with is actually just using the windows, because then Angus Eve can be able to put in place the plan that he wants to do.
Agreed.
It's a national team. You're calling players from different places, and part of that is using these windows so that I can see what I want to see. Now again, the blocks in your national team framework is different from your club, because in my club I'm seeing them every single day. I'm building, I can put small pieces together. The difference with the national team is that you scout, you look at players playing with their clubs, you look at the positions that you want to fill, the manpower that you have, and then you want to piece them together first in your head, theoretically, and then when you have windows, you bring them and you put them and you see how they look. So that when we go into what is our Nations League, which is what you really want to win, you can then go into those games with a cohesive plan, with players that you have tried, and you can look for then to get an outcome. Now, we keep talking about the results. When we have a senior team, which is your flagship team, if that plan is not communicated to the wider public, then you're going to have problems with pressures coming onto the TTFA and down onto you, because they don't know the plan. Now again, they don't necessarily have to agree because they're not the one signing the contract to work with the team, right? But if they're fed into it, they know what the plan is, they know we're working towards 2026, then the expectation is different. They know that, okay, this is what we're doing. We expect to see a lot of younger players. We expect to see some form of cohesiveness from one game to the other, rather than we just looking like we're going to try to pick off a result every time. And I'm not convinced that that's Angus's model. I don't think he's going to just trying to get results.
No, I honestly am in full agreement with Angus as national coach at this point in time. Angus is a thinker, Angus is a planner, and I really, really want to see him succeed. I understand that he needs those financial results. And it's a pity that corporate Trinidad, unlike other places, right, other countries all over the world, is not behind our national team. Right? Our national team has only the TTFA to fund it and behind so much debt at this point in time. I don't understand why people would expect results, because it takes a lot of funding for playing games over and over and over to get the players to improve, and that takes funding. So if it is corporate Trinidad does not want to come out, don't expect the type of results that that you get from other countries.
I look at it as this, man. If you're not looking for results, you'll be playing more younger players locally.
Local players, planning.
So if you're bringing in players, you're looking for results.
Okay.
These players, and we don't have the professionals.
The quality of professionals,
With the
right?
quality,
That could change anything.
right? Or playing with the big clubs out
Correct,
there.
yes.
So if we don't have that, give the youngsters here a chance to show themselves. I gotta say, like, thank you to people like Edgar Vidal and Ken Henry and they for giving us the opportunity.
We didn't have anybody playing outside of that.
We had a lot. We had Jerry Brown. We had Victor Gamaldo, Lincoln Phillips, a whole bunch of guys who didn't go to Haiti that was out there playing professional football.
Right.
They didn't call. They didn't bring them. They bring three back.
Yeah.
Archie, Sellers, and Galley.
Right. Who they probably think they needed.
With the locals.
Yeah. Now,
another thing I know. Oh, go ahead. Say what you have.
No, but that's a good point. And again, just to bring back some context to that, the football that we would have played in Trinidad for the last 3 years is the Ascension League that finished 3 months ago. Right? So for this game, if we were picking local players, where would they play? You know, they weren't engaged in any games. So now again, it's not looking for excuses, but we can't separate what happens from the context in which we are saying. Now, one of the things that if we look at comparing other eras to this era, on a whole, generally, this era we play less football. The youngsters play much less football than even persons who wasn't playing at national level. There was much more involvement in playing, even if it's in the community, right, in your zonal leagues and so on. They were playing much more football. If it is that Angus Eve had to select some youngsters, and we had a discussion the other day, who are the young players, really and truly?
Because there's
Tell
no
us,
football.
there's no football. Who are
anywhere.
these players who we would have selected to go? Now again, somebody who attached to a school or attached to some young academy would say, well, yeah, I have this young kid here. Where we see him?
So, right, how are you
seeing
here? Right, how is he, or how does he perform in competition?
Exactly.
Locally, who was he coaching then? He was having sessions, national sessions.
Angus Eve?
Yeah.
No, after the Ascension League, there wasn't, remember before in lead up to the Nations League and so on, there were training sessions. But after that, the national program, again, that has been scaled down as well.
Well, right. I think what Steve is getting at is that at the end of the day, you have a nucleus of players that he coaches locally. what is the percentage of those players that he takes with him on international games? Because you're coaching these players into what you want them to play. And right, you're not coaching the foreigners.
No, the national team is not in. I'm saying the national team is not in training. They don't have
but not at this
local
point in
training
time.
squad.
Even at that point in time, right? You still coaching a nucleus of players, right? And most of the time, in past with all the other coaches, and most of the time, you have less than 25% of those players.
Yeah.
So it's better you don't coach. Save some money, save some time, if it is that you only want to bring back.
That's what he did.
Right.
Yeah, that's exactly what he did.
So
right, because there wasn't anything in place for the players, because how many players, when you're calling out players to train, they have to get stipends, and that has to be done.
Yes.
Right, that has to be done. He's a coach who stood by that. So if that's not in place for them, then we're calling back players who are
and that
active
itself
abroad.
Is not ideal.
It's not ideal.
Yeah.
It's not.
So administration has something to do with that as well.
A lot.
Right, but Steve, it's not just, we keep focusing to try to fix the problem with the national team.
Right.
And we're not understanding what is the root cause of that, right, those types of performances and the quality of player. The root cause is that we do not have nationwide football going on. There's no more South Zone football where people from the South could go to Skinner Park and see football again in the Mecca of South. There's no more, right, Point Fortin League.
SFL.
SFL. There's no more Miaro Football League where you had great footballers that came out of Miaro.
Yeah.
You now have just an Ascension League or a Pro League where only 10 or 20 teams.
Not even a Pro League these days. Yeah,
right.
Pro League hasn't played for.
That is the root cause of the quality of player. Because when you have these community leagues running, or the zonal leagues, north, south, east, west, Tobago, right? The zonal leagues come. You have a lot more football being played. You have a larger group of players that you can see and choose from, instead of this small group of players, right? 100 players that only play. That is the root cause. We had players on our team, Louis Castillo, one guy on our 116 team from Miaro, and he added so much to our defensive midfield position, right? Where are the Louis Castillos now? We cannot see them from Miaro. Where are the Steve Davids? We cannot see them because they're not playing in Point Fortin. That's where we saw Steve David, in Point Fortin.
But we have a secondary school football league.
And the secondary football league is a waste of time. I always say that. Because the quality of, if you realize in the past, this year I'm seeing a lot better football with Fatima and so on, right? Like they have a lot better coaches. But are those coaches adding to what the national program is about, right? The systems they play, the type of coaching. That is why Plantation College and Naparima College were the top of the secondary school leagues for the last how many years?
Yeah, for quite some time.
Why? Because W Connection took, invested their coaching staff into these two schools and ensured that the type of coaching and so on that happened there was at a level that could build the country.
But we're talking about the both sides of the mouth. I'll tell you why. We're saying this is what we should be doing, but we don't have it. So we have to make it happen. So we go to colleges, pick the best of that group or the younger group and start to develop them. That's what you guys are saying.
But if I just plug in here, now again, we're seeing the same issue, right, which is a lack of football. Now, again, we had no football, of course, because of the pandemic and whatnot, right? And again, I tend to see this as an excuse that is repeated over and over for things that existed before the pandemic.
Correct.
You understand what I'm saying?
Correct.
And now look at the structure or the model that the SSFL has used this season. Again, the viewers may not be aware, they have divided which was the Premier League into two groups. This is the league football. So now each team, instead of having to play 13 games, you now play 6. Right? 6 or 7 games, and that's after that you pick the top 2, and then they go into an immediate knockout. This is supposed to crown your league champion. So a school could potentially win 7 games of the season and then lose the next one and lose a league. That is actually taking away from the amount of games that these youngsters are going to play. Now again, I agree that the SFL should not be the place where our elite development is taking place.
Of course not,
because it's a school league.
I can ask Steve, how many college players in the past have made it to even zonal football clubs?
Right.
The gap is so far.
Yes, right.
But I'm not saying that's where you get all the players. I say you're talking about where you're going to find them.
Where you're going to find them, right?
But again, you're looking for a stopgap measure there, Steve. Oh, well, go to the college. No, we're looking for a solution. The solution is we have to have a nationwide football.
Agreed.
Yes. Back again.
Totally.
That is the solution. We're not looking for stopgap measures again.
All right, let's stop here. We'll take a break, and then we come back and we pick up right where we left.
Stop that.
Viewers will be right back after the short break.
Yeah. I come from a place where only happy people and pretty girl everywhere, yeah. I know life be rough, but we still a smile on we face, yeah. No matter how hard, man, we don't let tragedy face way. We could take strain, that's why when we festin', we just bet hard when we jammin'. We just jam down when we drinking, man, it's strong rum, eh. Pop a bottle right now when we festin'. We just bet hard when we jammin'. We just jam down when we drinking, man, it's strong rum, eh. Pop a bottle, push up your hand, yeah. We see body spot, push up your hand, yeah. God bless this land, yeah. So we go jam down, oh la la, so we go wind down, oh yeah, so we go jam down, oh la la, so we go wind down. And in the air, if you're born right there, in this land, where the vibes go, and I say, and in the air, if you're born right here, in this land, where the vibes go, and I come from a place where, even when it's tough, we just live it up, it's amazing. When the battle hard, we just pray to God for we safety. Yeah. I know that we safe, yeah. We gon' make it, cause God is our tree name. When we festin', we just fed hard and we jammin'. We just jam down when we drinking, man it's strong rum, eh. Pop a bottle right now when we
Hi, join us for your movie classics on NCBN TT Television Network every Saturday at 10:30 a.m. with repeats on Wednesday at 10 a.m. Streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. NCBN Television, the #1 online television network, bringing you the classics.
Okay, welcome back, viewers. All right, so let me lay this out so I can get my 2 little cents in, because I know you guys are going to this is our last segment and you guys are going to run with it too much. So I'm saying we don't look at everything literal. We say, we can do an assessment. Angus with his coaching staff, and then look, this is what we're going to, this is our plan. So we'll be looking for players. So we get a TET FA bus and we go down to the point. Hey, jump in. We go to Paliseco, we jump in, everywhere. And we do an assessment on all what we got. We know we didn't have football, but we have to start somewhere. So we identify the best, and we can drop off and bring in and start to build our national. It's a whole brand new building. You said it, Clarky. We building brand new. I don't care how many Anthony Clark are there, or Jefferson George, or Steve David. We're looking at what we see.
Yeah.
And you're correct, Steve.
And we go with that.
And to do a building, the strongest part of the building is the foundation.
Right.
And the foundation is starting in the communities.
So that's your
No, you're not just going to look for people because there's no football in the communities. So you're just going to look for people who have name in the community, but not really perform.
Or who are already attached to something.
Right, or who are already attached to something.
Yeah.
But you still don't know how they're playing because there's no football in the communities.
You jump in the community and ask who the footballers, they will tell you everything.
Right, but because they are known from before.
Yeah, attached to something.
But you don't know if a young guy is coming up because there's no football. You don't know if there are younger people that are better now and so on.
Agree.
So therefore, don't build a shabby foundation. Go back and develop football in the communities. Start there at the grassroots. See what comes up from the grassroots. And when you develop the leagues in the communities, you are now able to select the people who are performing, not who have name from before, who are now performing.
Here's how we do that. Because we cannot just wait and the national team or whoever is waiting for this to happen. So we have to have something going. It has to be...
Continue what is there. Let it continue.
But not at that level. We have to continue at the level how we want to bring it. We're bringing it to a more structured path. So you're saying the right thing, but it has to come through the structured path.
Yes.
And so we pick the best we know, but we always replacing and taking out and putting in, taking it, filter it, and making it happen.
Yeah. You know, we had that, right? You know, we had all of that. You know, there's been many iterations of development, and I'm talking about grassroots development, that has been implemented at some point in time. The problem that we have, like in every other sphere, is maintenance, right? You look at the stadiums that we have now, and it's all over the place, because they started as very, nice structures that we use and so on. Nobody paid any interest in it. They're falling apart. And that is what is going to happen to these same fantastic ideas that we have. My concern is, how do we put something in place to make sure that all these great ideas, and again, they can take whatever form they would, but again, it has to continue in order for it to produce something in 4 years, in 5 years, in 10 years.
But right? Jeff, it's not anything that we didn't have structured from. I grew up playing football in Skinner Park. I used to go and watch Steve David play football in Skinner Park because you had a South Zone.
Right.
You had North-South matches, you had East-West, you had North Tobago and so on, because the teams were from the community. So it's not any rocket science we're saying. Let South Zone run South Zone football.
Right.
Let them bring back, Diamond United, Monrepo United.
So again, you're hitting the nails on the head right here. Now, what has happened that changed that dynamic?
Professional football.
The Pro League.
Because
right?
they wanted to have a pro league.
And it sucked all the life, all the energy, all the resources out of the zones and went into a centralized model that did not serve the community.
Correct.
That's it.
We played our best football when we were amateurs.
Of course. Yeah.
We played our best football when we were amateurs.
Yeah. So that is and that's what I'm saying. So now when that happens, you have structure back into the regional associations, and now you have a structure that exists there. So obviously, things are going to exist around that, and that is going to be organic from the community. Things are going to grow around it and so on, and that will feed into now what is your elite program. So elite program, not exactly. So your program's not at the community level. They're not elite, but you have more.
That's where you see the
right. So we want to get
shining star.
Yeah. So we want to get coaches now into these areas, right? And this is now how we could have developed what worked back in the day. So you put good coaching education programs and so on, and provide for the people in the community the type of structure, the type of resources, the type of support that they need, and that is the way that we move forward.
Right, let me add something else. You are also going to positively affect crime. The youth will have something to do. And I know this is a football show, but it's not just football. We used to go in Skinner Park and watch basketball. We used to have netball. We used to have lawn tennis. Or everybody's focusing now on the areas where they can make money. And calling it professionalism. That is all they're doing. We need to bring the football back, sport and on the whole, bring it back in the communities, have something for the youths to do, have something for the youths to look up and see mentors. And boy, this man playing, but he come from my community. Have mentors in the community, have your minor leagues, because it even breaks down for them. This kind of part football was considered the big league, Diamond Village had a league.
Of course.
Marbella had a league. So therefore, you're going, is an embryonic development, where it is, you have to go back there. That's the only way it's going to solve, and it's going to positively affect crime. The youths now will be involved in team and camaraderie and so on. They will find different things to do instead of robbing people.
Of course.
So that is why the government has to even assist
economic opportunities as well. Because again, I said, when these mechanisms get going, they feed a lot of other things. The person who running little stalls, people coming and selling nuts and all that. Yeah, that's
so that is why, Steve, that is the foundation that has to be built. You can't look for a stopgap measure before that foundation. We have 6 years. Start back now. Within 2.5 years, we could have this going and the leagues and so on running, and therefore we can build something that could be sustainable throughout. Forget this professional league, forget this Ascension League, because people are being paid for mediocrity.
Well, let me just put a plug there for, because I know that the zonal football, at least South Zone, and I know East Zone has started, right? And again, with funding not from the TTFA, but from the same Ascension. Now, Ascension filled a gap where there was no football for 3 years, not just one. Right? This year, it had most, it was most visible because there was nothing else taking place, right? So it grabbed the spotlight. But again, here you have again someone getting involved who's putting some type of incentive and structure back into the zone, right? So hopefully this is something that can grow. Hopefully it's something that can re-inject some type of momentum on a zonal level, and it can happen in the other zones as well.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because the Ascension did sponsor a lot of teams in that South Zone.
Correct.
And so they are putting back something, and they need to get credit for that.
Yes.
Of course.
But again, all you guys talk about, Angus and his squad couldn't make that happen. There's people who has to make all
Of
of
course,
that.
the
Yes,
administrators.
Right. So, but for the sake of our national team, we have to have one. And regardless of what's happening here, we have to have a team. So,
But don't look for the results that you think
Don't be
that we
result
should
oriented.
get.
yes.
Do not look for those results now.
Right.
And the public needs to know this.
Well,
You cannot beat on the national coach because he does not have the infrastructure required to get the players that are required to perform at that level.
so I'm talking for the public.
Yes.
If you're bringing in players from all over the world, who is in small leagues that is not big or nothing, and you don't play my locals, you're looking for results.
All right. Right, there are two ways you could look at that, Steve. I totally agree with that point, but there's a other aspect of it where, yes, you have to bring back some of the international players, not the ones that are right mediocre just because they're playing on an international team somewhere, right? That you have to bring them back. There must be a mixture, and if the mixture, the local players, the percentage of local players must increase each game. So I totally agree with you. I understand why he's bringing back these players, because he feels that he knows the public is going to be on his back for results, right? So he's bringing back hoping that they are his best chance. And whatever he's working with locally, you must see a progression of increase of local players into the team. So I'll give the coach a blind now, but I need to see that.
No,
so
I
I agree with you.
I am not bringing them back for these little small major tournaments yet. I bring back kind of strength now. But these little small things, you're going to
Yeah,
play
but
a little series.
even if we look at the as I say, bringing them back is for me not so much the issue. The issue is us having a real good objective view as to the quality of these players. Now again, if we would have looked at in the early 2000s, right, and you ask somebody from Barbados or Grenada to pick a national or a regional football team,
The first person to call that.
they would call at least 2 Trinidadians. Now,
Yes.
this is an objective person,
Yes.
right? If you do that today, we don't have anybody who comes who would make it on that 11.
Yeah. No, they might say Levi.
Well, not unless starting. If you look, because if you look at the person he's playing, they have Leon Baileys, they have other persons in the Caribbean who, I mean, because I'm a Trinidadian, I would say Levi, get a look in there. But again, that's how far we are.
Correct.
That's really and truly where we are, right? I mean, you can't do anything at this point in time to change that situation. And that's why the necessity for us to fix the root issue, it has to be
Correct.
something that is long term.
Correct, yeah.
And I just put that spin on it because again, anybody can go and do that. You can go. People might know now because people don't really pay attention to the other players that we have in the Caribbean. If you look at the Suriname team or the Curacao team, these guys have players playing in the Dutch
Top
league.
leagues. Yeah, Dutch league.
The
Top leagues.
Haiti have playing in France.
Yes.
And that's what I'm saying for us. Jamaica, 5 or 6 players playing in top
England,
leagues in the world.
right, and UK and, yeah,
so
Premier League.
we're not there. We're not there.
So why we bringing back the mediocre?
Because that's our best. And that is what I'm saying.
But I understand what
Yeah.
Steve's point is, and I agree 100% with Steve.
No, I am saying I agree with you to a point, but if we are to use this scenario here, there is nothing
No
happening
football
locally
was played. So
for you to pick
that's
a
what
team.
I'm
There's
saying.
nobody.
That now,
Right.
because no football
Like
played for 3 years.
Marvin Phillip was one of the locals who went. And again, the last time he played would have been the same like 3 months ago that finished. Look how he was rusty.
He was rusty because he made a
He
elementary
was
mistake.
rusty. You know what I mean?
right, for the first goal
You,
against
you know,
Thailand.
so you have, and then you want to say now, okay, we're going to bring some younger players now who probably don't have the experience as Marvin to go and really do what? Now again, yes, I don't ever discard the younger players. We need to use them. We need to start to bleed them into the, but it's not the
time.
That's
At
not
this
it.
point in time,
That's not it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
over
that's
the
not what you're
last
going
3
to do.
years, right, we
You
have
know?
no football, and that's why I'm saying that as we move forward, right, as we move forward, we should see more and more players coming in to the national team, local players coming into the national team, and you only bring back what is needed.
As soon as they show light of something, you have to keep pushing them, man.
Yeah.
Correct.
Because then they get better and better. That's how they get better.
I agree.
Yes.
You don't stifle them, and then they get despondent. They forget.
And Steve,
Yeah, you had
at
young
this-
Rashford as well who traveled. I'm not sure if he...
And Steve,
got
at this point in time, with the college league going, remember we have 4 years of preparation. So the players that we see, the top players in the college league, I hope the coach pulls them out and starts incorporating them into the national program, because they are the ones that are now 17, 18, that are going to be there for the next one.
They would need games.
They would need games.
So
So
need
bring them in
resources.
now.
They need games. They need games. We need to play a lot of football. We need to play a lot of
So
football.
see
a lot of
those
high-level
players who are
football as
top
well.
in the colleges league now, and pull them out now and incorporate them at this age. Trinidad football has had too many late bloomers. People, first time they make it in national team at 25, nobody makes the national team at 25 years old. We need to see 16, 17, 18, 19-year-olds getting into the national team, and that is where the nucleus of our team, right, should be. Somebody making it at the national team at 27 years old. First cap.
You know, it's funny you said that, because when I first got national team in the 19,
correct,
I was still be playing, and I was going to play until I'm 25. That was my time to retire.
Right. And people now make it in
I used to have played at 23.
No.
All right, guys, we come to the end, man. It's a pleasure. It's been this time went by really quick. I want to thank you guys for being here, Clarky, as usual.
Always a pleasure, Steve.
When you ride out, make sure you think about us, and when you ride back in, come visit again. Jeff, thank you so much for being here too.
Nice, Steve.
Also, for NCBN TT, thank you for giving us the opportunity. Viewers, thank you for tuning in on Tuesday night at 8, and you can always go back on Facebook or check on YouTube and check us out. And we do have a Facebook page where you can visit and check us out. We have an email address, feedodreamtt@gmail.com. You can drop us a line. This show has ended. Go in peace. I'm Steve David. Good night.